Well,
Yay.
welcome into our Did She Really Say That podcast conversation. Sometimes when I'm sitting here with my guest, before we hit the record button, Steph and I were talking about some really cool things we're bringing to you today. Because you know that when we do Did She Really Say That, this podcast is for women that are in business, that are changing the way we do business, evolving our conversations, supporting more women around what the business world actually looks like for us because it's ever evolving. And what we're doing inside of it is pretty damn amazing. So when Steph and I met, we were like, we got to have this conversation. We want to talk about how educators are transitioning from education with the school systems and everything else, and they're moving into the corporate space and the demand for this. Like, I found this fascinating. So I want to bring this conversation to you ladies because I want to have a heart to heart with you around this, okay? So Stephanie Yesil, you can find her, like all of her information will be down in LinkedIn, but she is the mind. She is the beautiful mind behind Elevated Careers, where she helps educators transition out of the classroom into growth forward corporate roles. And the demand, as Steph has told me, is big, right? She has bush hacked, right? We're talking forged a new pathway from teaching into a six-figure corporate career, climbing the ladder two rungs at a time instead of one, right? Really like escalating her growth process. And she built her business by showing others how to do the same thing. And that's what we want. We want that hand holding, that guidance. How do you do this, right? Educators go to her when they're ready to start building lucrative careers beyond the education system. How many of my audience listeners out there are like, yes, I want
Here we
her and I
go.
want her in my life, right?
Done.
So what you're going to get with her is, not some just indulgent feel good advice like pat on the back, like you can do this. She's not your cheerleader.
Hmm.
She is your tactical helper. She is here to make sure you secure opportunities that match your ambitions and experiences, right? She doesn't just talk about change, she truly makes it happen. And this is why Steph is on with us today. So, Steph, thank you so much for being a yes and being on here with us on Did She Really Say That?
I am beyond honored to get to have this time with you. I know you're a very busy, in-demand woman, so for you to give me your time today is very humbling. So thank you very much for having me. I'm pumped to bring this message to the greater community that you and I share.
Yeah, and it's just like I know we work with a lot of women. We watch this career transition takes place. There's a lot of women that are in careers. I'm sure you're helping also the men too that is are transitioning into the space also because we're moving through this. But we're going to talk to our women today. But I know my male listeners, you guys are enjoying this conversation, so we're going to dive in. So really, Steph, how did this all kind of transpire? You were in the education space. You were a teacher. What what like was the catalyst? What was the one thing that shifted and had you start looking at, hey, how do I build a career, a more lucrative career outside of
Yeah.
this?
Yeah, that's a great question. One of my favorites. It all comes down to I took stock of my
Mm,
life several years ago and thought very critically about my day-to-day actions. And if my day-to-day actions were serving me as much as they were serving others. And as an educator, especially in a public service career, you really attach so much of your identity and your worth to the work that you do day in and day out. And when I was a Teach for America teacher, I remember feeling really drawn to and driven by impact. But it was also one of the most unhealthy times of my life in terms
mm,
of overwork and burnout. Really dedicating myself to a cause that I felt was bigger than me, but sacrificing my health and well-being and peace, which I feel like is industry agnostic. I feel like more and more people, especially women, can use those same words to really apply to their current situation. And so the too long didn't read version of how elevated careers came about is I always knew I wanted to be creative and someone who could pivot quickly, create things quickly, essentially be my own boss. I wanted
right.
eventually to sell my time to myself.
How
And
many
in
women
order
can hear that? Like they're sitting there like, yeah, I want to sell my time to myself. Like I can hear that from the audience go, ooh,
that
that was gold. So
like
yes.
Think about it. I work for Stephanie Yesil Incorporated. I work for myself and I sell my time to companies that have a need for the specific skill set that I bring. And every time I've moved into these roles, they were great. They were the right role at the right time until they weren't anymore. Whether it was for me, it wasn't the right fit, a lifestyle change happened and I needed to pivot. And so I went through I ran through the gamut of working through education, and then I moved into corporate life, and I moved through roles that I knew were stepping stones. I didn't worry if it was going to be my forever role. I said yes to a lot of things because I knew that in order to be my own boss and bring something really applicable to others, I needed to have my own real world experience of the stumbles, of the fear, of the frustrations. And I embraced the totality of that journey so that one day I woke up and said, I'm done selling my time to someone else for work that I don't feel is immediately helping other people. I have this idea. Every data point is pointing me towards making something that I know there's a market for. And the way I knew there was a market for elevated careers, specifically helping educators shift to higher paying, higher impact jobs, is because in every single role that I had, where it was educator facing, every single time I was in front of educators, whether it was for training or implementation or upskilling, whatever it is, I had tons of people waiting on the side with a scrap of paper with their phone number on it. Not their email address, because they were doing this in the shadows. It was a scrap of paper. They would send it to me. They would hand it to me. Give me a call. I want to know how to do this. How did you make a move from, a fifth grade teacher for Teach for America all the way up here to corporate leadership? And I was spending more and more and more time supporting folks who are the best people in the world, the biggest hearts, the most brilliant minds, who deserve to build a life that they want without having to hide it and without having to say, I feel so guilty, I feel so bad. No, girl, there's so much we can do. There's so many places that need what you bring, and I'm going to help you understand that world. I ended up making so much stuff. I started putting it online, and more people started consuming it. And then I started charging for my time, and it became a full-time job to a point where I
So,
thought, like, I don't need my full-time corporate job anymore. My dream job is right here in front of me. And now I run Elevated Careers full-time.
so there's two things.
Hmm.
As I try not to sneeze, there's two things that kind of captured my attention as we're talking about that. One, I love the fact that when you're talking to those that are transitioning from education into the corporate system, right? Try everything, because I really do feel like as a teacher, that is the essence of what business is. There's always the need for a train the trainer, somebody that can break down complex ideas and make it simple and be able to disperse
Mhm.
that information. And I think teachers innately have that capability. And so
Yes.
it makes them great leaders, because I'll tell you this, if you can lead any classroom of any age of kids, you can definitely lead adults,
Mhm.
right? Because it's
Mhm.
actually the same person. To be honest, with however
Right.
you learn as a child, you take that same learning method into
Right.
adulthood.
Right.
So talk to me a little bit about one thing that caught my mind. You said, yeah, I started building out courses, I started building out stuff. Like, how did you come through that process? Like, was it like, did you have a system in place to put that together? Like, how did you start selling that? I know that's probably some of the questions that are going through. It's like, yeah, but how do you get started? Like, where do you start with all of that?
Sure, sure. So there wasn't a process other than research. In the very beginning, I knew that I wanted to get really organized because I had so many, what I felt, I'm biased, so many wonderful ideas swirling about. Like, how do I prioritize these ideas? How do I test out what people actually want to see versus, what was just unique to me? So what I ended up doing was I started researching other people in the space, of course, in the transition space, career coaches, just started with LinkedIn. Literally anything you want to do starts with research. What are other people already doing in this space? And then you do a bit of a SWOT analysis. right? You think, what are they really good at? What are people responding to? And where are the gaps? What are people not saying that I have opinions, strong opinions on based on my professional background? And that's going to become your niche. That's going to become your differentiator. So I steered clear. I would write down, I made so many lists of things that everybody was talking about. And I'm like, cool, I'm not going to add to that. And so a
Yeah, because why would
process
you add to
started.
something that's already a bunch of noise? You're trying to find that differential. You're trying to find that different lane, that
Mhm.
your own voice, your own way of being inside of that. So I
Right,
love that you say that because I'm gonna
right.
call you out,
Hmm.
ladies. Like she said it first, do research. Find out what your
That's
market's already doing
it.
and
Hmm.
then dive into it. And then, what was your next step? So now you've done the research. Now you started to figure out your voice.
Huh?
How are you creating this all?
I I was in stealth mode for about 10 months. I saved up. I made sure I was going to be financially secure. I got all my ducks in a row. This is not going to be the path for everyone, for every entrepreneur that's growing. But what I ended up doing was I quit before I actually started selling anything. I was still giving my time and my resources away for free. And I went, I know there is a full-time job in here. There's a full-time market, but I'm not the person. So many people will give you the advice to say, just build it and they'll come. Like, I'm not Field of Dreams. If I'm telling you, like that movie's already made, that's not me. If I come out hot and I'm like, I have strong opinions about things, I want you to have a landing page to go to. I want you to have something to help you understand how to dive deeper or how to get in touch with me or how I can help you right away. And so I knew that in building my business, I was going to have to be quiet, even if like I'm sitting here like, don't say anything yet because I don't have anything to direct anybody to officially in a really organized fashion. So I started a website. I got my domain name. I registered my LLC. And then I started building my website based on the things that I knew were different. And I would take an element here that I saw, like a design element, not a voice element, like a design element from this really cool website I liked. And there was a neat newsletter setup that I liked over here. And I started working on my funnel. How am I going to get people to go from my LinkedIn post with a semi-strong opinion to clicking on my free tools to understanding there's more depth and then giving them time to really mull over what kind of paid support options they have. And so I started thinking very linearly, like what's the fastest, most efficient route for them to hear my voice, me gain credibility, which was my website, and then drive them to when they're ready for the big guns, they can purchase these accessible, affordable options. So that's it. Starts with research, and then I just started organizing everything I had onto a website, and it took me 10 months to build it. And then, funny story, the next step was probably the most challenging and funniest to me. I had a plan to launch my business, open the doors. I took away the coming soon landing page and scheduled LinkedIn posts. When I opened the doors, 2 days before that happened, my water broke and I had a baby. So I just
Well,
went
well,
for it and
that
I
was
said, I'm going to
planned.
stay committed.
Yeah.
And I had my baby boy. And so I built it while I was breastfeeding. So I went hard for 10 months knowing that life changes were coming up. And then I stayed committed to showing up every day. And it is now lucrative and fun and wonderful and all consuming.
Well, and I like how women, you have to just hear what she just said. Like replay it, go back. But like she had her baby. She literally birthed two things, the business
Same
and her
week.
son in the
Yeah.
same week, right?
Yeah.
Like but it was very intentional. Like if you listen to what Steph was saying, I knew I had 10 months. I knew I needed to do this, this, and this. And so
Hmm.
it's really about following and trusting your instinct, right?
Yes.
Yes, you can jump out of the gate. You can get everything done, but I know we as women, we're planners. We like to
Mhm.
see a little bit more of our future, kind of have an idea of where we're going because the day to day to us is busy enough. The day to day of managing the household, the family, the everything else that if we don't look a little bit ahead and say, okay, these are some of the things we're putting into place, then it just
Mhm.
feels like it's all a pile up, right? It's a car crash waiting to happen. And then you're going to sit there and trust me, I've met the women that burn out from this box of tissues in tears, wondering what just how the heck happened, right? That's that's what it is.
And there's a lot to say about what you are intentional, stop it, Stephanie.
Intentionally?
Intentional about, I was
Yep.
putting those two words together.
Oh, I do that all the
Uh,
time. Good.
it's in, right? It's important to be intentional about what you're building, but I think the hardest part for me was being intentional about what I was saying no to.
Mm. Ooh, tell us a
And
little more about that.
yeah, I was getting pressure from what I would say is a very well tested kind of masculine energy.
The bro
Move
marketing
fast,
101.
post it. Post it now, fix it later. Give them the first module and tell them you're rolling out the second module. Don't worry about giving them a complete course. And I kept saying, that's not me. That's not me. Thank you. I appreciate the advice. And yes, it has worked for many people, but that's just not how I can build my life and operate, knowing that I also want to be very present with a growing family and be a present entrepreneur. In the beginning, it's hard and it's
Yes.
lonely and you forget to take care of yourself. And I didn't have that luxury of not taking care of myself because now
Mm.
I'm responsible for even more people.
Yeah.
So I had to be intentional about saying no to other people's well meaning advice about the way I built and the way I released. But also, I have 20 different documents that I could have developed into freebies that I know are awesome. I didn't have the time. So I had to prioritize the two that I could set up that would get people's attention and serve a great purpose. And so I had to be really careful about putting things down that I was loving creating, but I just either didn't have time to do it, it wasn't fully tested or vetted yet. Like, that's it. I had to be intentional about saying thank you, but no thank you. And no, I can't possibly turn all of my ideas into something consumable and learn to be okay with that.
I think you've said something that was like really interesting for our listeners as our audience is listening to this because so many times we're told it's like I've got so many ideas, I need to act on them, I need to bring them to fruition, I need to do everything. But I've come to find as I continue to work with women in the world of business is that our businesses have seasons, right?
Yeah.
So
Ooh, okay.
yes, so we have seasons,
Hmm.
right? So there are seasons when we're a new mom, we're taking care of our kids. Like that season and how business looks is going to be different than if you're an empty nester. If you're single, it's going to look different if you're a caregiver. Like our businesses actually like fluctuate according to our seasons and what is important in our lives and what we're prioritizing. Yes, we still want to serve others. Yes, we definitely want to still make money. Yes, we want to be able to make a contribution. And at the core of this, I want to take care of myself first so I can take care of my family so I can take care of my
Right?
business.
Right.
Right?
Or else something's going to break. It's going to be you, your family, or your business. It's hard. It's
Yeah.
hard making those decisions, but that's exactly right. You have to be really aware of the season that you're in. And sometimes your mantra just needs to be, this is what the season looks like.
Yeah. It doesn't look
It's
like everything that the bro marketing business world is telling you it has to look like.
the
You need to do this
lifestyle
now.
influencers. Yeah,
Yes, I need
right.
influencers have to tweet like 5 videos every day and be posting and making all this money. Like, ain't nobody got time for that. Really? Like, come on. So I love when you say that you kind of push back because I think that's
Mhm.
giving women the grace that it's okay to slow down, to listen. And honestly, a lot of the feedback I get is like we want more quality over quantity.
Yeah.
I'd rather get something that is well thought out, has an end and a purpose that will actually improve instead of something that I'm just being sold into. It's being literally
Mhm.
built as I'm going through it. So I don't feel like I'm actually ever being listened to because you're just building the next thing.
That's right. And
And
there's
I
one thing that oh, I'm sorry,
go
go
ahead.
ahead.
Nope, go
I
ahead.
I want to come back to the word slow or the term slow down. I didn't mean to interrupt
Mm.
you.
No, go ahead. Come back into that. What do we got?
So I mean, organically, I'm sorry to cut you off, but you said
No.
Sometimes you just need to slow down. And that's something that I struggled with in the very
Hmm.
beginning. I felt anger when I needed to slow down because I gave birth to this thing that was rapidly evolving. And the world didn't care that I had a baby. The world doesn't care. Like, obviously, there are people going, oh, that's so sweet. But when it comes to being a business owner, the world is not going to slow down with you. And so there's a
Correct.
fear that women entrepreneurs often have that I struggled with very much when I first had my little one several years ago. People would say, slow down. You don't have to work so hard. And I would get pissed off because nobody's telling my award-winning, incredible, brilliant MIT husband about that. Nobody's telling him to slow down. And
Right.
he can't. He doesn't have the luxury to slow down because we have two entrepreneurs under this roof. And that's the story I kept telling myself that if
Ooh, good
if the
story.
other people around me don't have the luxury to slow down and nobody's telling them to slow down, then I shouldn't be exempt from that. I shouldn't have to slow down. And so what I came to realize through a lot of reflection and like affinity groups for female entrepreneurs, new entrepreneurs, and therapy, therapeutic process. I believe in mental strength,
Yes,
right? I
agree.
show up regularly for my mental strength. Um, is I realize that when someone says slow down, you can slow down. It doesn't mean your work slows. It doesn't mean
Correct.
your income slows. It doesn't mean that you do fewer things that are income driven. It means you just get better at prioritizing the things that are going to drive your income and prioritize things that are going to allow you to take care of yourself. Now, will it always be in perfect balance? No. Is there going to be trial and error? Are you going to choose something that maybe impacts your income or your scalability or your growth? Yeah. But what entrepreneur amongst us knows exactly what lever to pull at exactly the right time? None of us. So, like, do less with more intention, and you're going to see that it's okay.
Yeah.
So slowing down doesn't have to be this scary thing, ladies. It really doesn't.
Yeah. And I'm so glad you said that because I think that that's a lot of the anxiety that women experience in building businesses and running their family is like, if I slow down, right, that like everything's going to fall apart, right? That I'm going to be left behind or I'm not going to get this done in a timely manner. Like I hear that all the time, but what I love with what you just said was like, when you slow down, you become intentional. You start looking at what is the
Mhm.
task that I'm aligning with. And I teach this with a lot of women. It's like, what is your energy that week? What is your energy going flowing through you? What tasks
Yeah.
align to that? Because the honest truth is that we as women, when we start slowing down, we take the men with us. And they
Mm,
think they can't slow down until they see somebody else slow down and still
right.
continue that success. Because if you've ever read anything by, Napoleon Hill, Think and Grow Rich, they actually talk about a lot of times taking those vacations when things are most stressful,
Mm,
detoxing altogether, because when you surrender to the universe, whatever it is you think you have to do, and you just let it be, it will either come into your life or disperse from your life. But that slowing
right.
down is one of the most critical elements of understanding and being very present to the business you're in, to the life you're
Mhm.
choosing to lead, the people you have in it. And I think it's such a critical element for us women to embrace that so that we can be that mirror or reflection for the men out there
Yes.
and say, yeah, we're building businesses right along with you. We're making that
Mhm.
6, 7, 8 figures. And look, we're breathing in this process.
That's
So I
it.
love that you said that.
I wonder if we are beating a dead horse by using the term slowing down. I literally haven't had a conversation. This just came to me just
I like
now because
this.
you're my muse. You're inspiring. What if we aren't slowing down? What if we are making intentional choices of what to prioritize? And it's not slow and it's not fast. Maybe
It's
it's
just
just
happening.
what we need in this moment. And what we need is a collection of not just our bodies and our minds, but our businesses, our families, our wellness. Maybe it's
Bringing it
not a
all
matter
together.
of fast or slow. I think we're looking in a vocabulary category that probably is just a mislabel at this time. It's just being flipping intentional with what your needs are. And nobody, I mean, why are we holding ourselves? up to the same yardstick that people have measured themselves by for
That we don't want to
decades.
be measured against anymore.
Right. Why can't
Yeah.
we be our own set of yardsticks and say it's not about slow or fast? It's about right now, because that's what needs to happen. And understand that your season's going to look different than everybody
It is.
else's, but you can still be a role model.
Yeah,
Maybe
I
that's it.
love that.
Yeah.
So I know we're cutting, we can keep going on. I feel like we could talk, you and I, Steph, could talk for hours on this.
Oh,
So
we could.
let's give our audience something like that's tangible for them. So you and I were talking about transferring skill sets. I know when we were chatting earlier previously before this podcast, we had talked about how there's so many skill sets we have as teachers, and even from coming from the corporate world into entrepreneurship, there's a massive skill set that we undervalue, but it's such a big piece. So I know you've got a freebie or a gift for our listeners that basically is a tangible way of taking a skill set and incorporating it into either the corporate world or even to the entrepreneur space. So tell us a little bit about that.
Absolutely. This was one of my very first and very favorite freebies. And one thing that I'll give a tip to your listeners that made my freebies so popular. It was one of the best pieces of advice I've ever heard. It was create something so good that it hurts to give it away for free.
Oh, I like that.
That's what's going to get people to come back for your paid offers because they know you're not just jerking them around.
Mm-hmm.
And so this is one of those, it hurts a little to give it away for free, but it's also my privilege to say this is the thing that has helped so many. It's the most downloaded document that I have. And it's 33 most in-demand transferable skills specifically for educators. And what I
Okay.
have done in this document is I take the overarching soft skills that have hard skills embedded within them. They show up in different responsibilities that you'll see across all of education, from classroom teacher all the way up to the superintendent level. And what you can do in this document is you go to the soft skill, timeless love for teaching, teamwork, skill building, conflict resolution, writing, the stuff that everybody says, oh, I'm good at that. What I do is I break it down on the left side. It's stuff that you typically will see an educator do or incorporate in their day to day. And on the right side, it's what that same skill under that umbrella, what it looks like, but in the corporate world.
Hmm.
So, for instance, if it's literally teaching, teaching is one of the soft skills. If it is, um, maybe you were teaching your peers, your colleagues in a professional learning community in what's called a PLC, maybe you're teaching them about a new technology. You've been voluntold to be the lead person to go to help troubleshoot this new technology that your school just adopted. Well,
Yeah.
in corporate, you're now a trainer. You're a
Yep.
product trainer.
Yep. You're a
You're
training
doing
trainer.
implementation. And
Yep.
so, what people might take for granted on the one side in education, because maybe, as I said, you were voluntold, maybe it's something you just see as something small. In the corporate world, this needs to be part of your Rolodex of wins to pull from. And so, you can very clearly see a one-to-one um, um, applicability chart between what you're doing in this career in education and what people actually use that for in the corporate world.
I love that. And I would say for everyone that's listening in the audience, like you're hearing something with Steph saying this. So maybe you're thinking of a good friend right now. Maybe you're thinking of somebody that maybe this isn't the download for you. Maybe this isn't the freebie for you, but there's somebody you know in your life that could benefit. I've just thought of like four different teachers that I could be like, hey, this would be really good for you. And I know they're looking for other things to do. So what I always ask is we do like, did she really say that? Is share this information, right?
Yeah,
Steph is giving
that's
you
great.
gold. It's
Thank
not
you.
about just listening for yourself, it's listening for others. And I think that's the beauty of when we talk about did she really say that? You know, Steph said things like, did she really say that, take maybe we're saying, downtime, slow down is wrong, right? Maybe we're underestimating our skill sets, right?
Yes.
Maybe we're in a different season and we need to really look at that. So there's a lot of moments throughout this interview with you, Steph, that I hope every woman sits here and listens to this over and over again, especially this one, And I'll say this is probably one of my top favorites. And I'm saying that out loud here on Did She Really Say That? I
I
did
love
say
it.
that. Because
She
there's
did just
such,
say that.
I did. There's such a transparency. There's such an authenticity. There's a
Thank you.
relatability. And that's like the extent of like who I want to connect with our women in our audience, sharing what you do. So really, thank you so much for being here with us on this episode of Did She Really Say That? I look forward to getting your download, even though I'm not, well, I was a teacher for a little bit, so I can technically play with this world also.
You get it.
But we need to come back and do another couple of conversations and really dive into what we've just started scratching the surface on. So,
Please. I would
absolutely.
love that. I would be honored.
All
Yes.
right. Well, thank you again for your time. It's much appreciated. And for all of my listeners, grab the download. All of her connections to LinkedIn, everything else you can find stuff is going to be down in the show notes. Connect with her, follow her, share her with others that are out there that somebody else might need to hear this today. And if you got value, definitely increase our ratings. Give us a 5 star. I love that. Thumbs up. And I appreciate all your listeners. And with that, we'll see you on the next episode.